with Dale Pinkert, trading coach at TradeGate Hub. Hi, Dale. It's great to have you back
Hi,
on.
hi, Maggie. Great timing to ask that question. In fact, when we exchange emails, I was talking about there are some big things happening, and you said, "What are they?"
Hmm.
And I said, "I think TLT is going to make a move to new lows." And the move in the CPI report just as a nail in the coffin. I could show the reasons why it wasn't just I didn't use an 8 ball to come up with
Sometimes
to come
we
up with that
wonder.
trade. Uh,
Sometimes we wonder. Dale's great, and as all of you know, he keeps track from time to time when we talk, and so he'll send me updates on how his calls are going in
yeah.
between. And sometimes we gotta push him up. But as
All
you
right.
pull the chart up, I just want to, for those who might have been out of pocket or in meetings or are just
Yeah.
plugging in, so we had a surprisingly hot CPI reading here in the US. Kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. We saw bond yields move higher, stocks sell off, although the NASDAQ finished flat. It looked like the Dow sort of took the brunt of it. And that wasn't all, of course. We had Trump tweeting that he spoke to Putin about ending the war in Ukraine. As always, lots of moving parts. So it looks like you are. What
All
should
right.
we be watching? Is it
Okay.
TLT the most interesting to you? Where do you want to start?
Well, rates are a big deal. In fact, someone saw my commentary on bonds and looking for higher yields, and Elon put out a tweet that once people recognize that Doge is working, that interest rates will fall for all Americans. I hope he's right, but he's early. The I was talking about new lows in the bonds. Last time I was here, I showed the significance of 85. Okay, so let's use a telescope and then go to the microscope. So here's a telescope. If you look at this 85 level, look look left, traders, investors, look left. That's the market's memory. 85 breaks out at 85, holds at 85. So we held here at 85 and we had a bounce. It was okay. It was about 5 handles to 90, but a lot of people were making a little bit too much out of it because they wanted this to be a head and shoulders bottom, and this would have been the neckline at 88 and a half. And they got their signal of a breakout of this formation, and it measured much higher. And then the other day I say, here we are back testing the breakout.
Mm,
So Mr. Market's saying, okay, you missed a major breakout. I'm going to give you another chance to buy it. And yesterday, we actually negated the breakout. So there was already a bit of a technical tell that for a bullish formation, some of your biggest moves happen on false breakouts and breakdowns where you have people wrong footed. So now that we don't have a head and shoulders, unless you want to call it a Quasimodo type of formation that doesn't exist, it's my contention we're headed to take out the 85 level, but that's not the problem. The problem is that taking out 85 is going to take you back towards 80, which was the low of the move. And if we take out this 85 level and you just do a measurement, just simple addition and subtraction, and just look at this whole range from 85 to 99 is 14 handles. So if we break down under 85, 14 handles is 71, which is going to be a sharply higher long bond. And that would give us a third drive to a bottom, which is what I'm looking for. And here it is, 72. People would probably say, um, I'm crazy to think that uh, this could happen. This is going to be a big problem. But at the minimum, we have a test of the 80 low. And normally when you get to a major low, there's a flush underneath it. So higher yields on the long duration and even the 10-year has destiny to take out 5%. Okay, so could we get one more pullback to 34? Yes, but I think we're headed towards not just 5, but maybe 5.5% in the
Wow.
next several months. So, Doge will be successful by turning interest rates around by cutting so deeply into the budget that it's going to cause a growth scare, okay? Because it's going to be liquidity coming out of the system. So, of course, rates will come down if we're worried about a recession
Mm.
and unemployment and all of the fallout from the cuts that are being made, let alone what's happening in the real economy for months and months before the new administration. So rates are a problem, and they're going to be a problem, I think, at least until late March, the equinox, and maybe into April around tax day. Um, I'm bearish. There's not too much I am bullish on. So
So,
there's
let
my
me
take.
ask you a question because this is what I think is so difficult about this environment. So the market and your charts are telling you that, but we know that there's so much uncertainty around policy and what gets through and what is a plan, what's able to be executed, what's a threat, what happens in negotiations. But higher yields are not something that the Trump administration wants. I mean, I
Oh
can't
no,
see
it's
that
going to
sitting
be.
well with them. So, we used to say there used to be that "Don't fight the Fed." Can you fight the Trump administration? I mean, can the market
Yes, yeah, he can. We'll see. I mean,
you know what I
I
mean?
I
Can it
think
spike if they don't want it?
firing him is illegal. But
No, but not Powell. I mean, just generally, even though the charts are pointing that way, if they want something to happen, they seem determined to pursue whatever policies are gonna make that possible. That seems like a threat that's out there that would throw a wrench in your forecast, or is it
well, you
just a
know what,
timing thing?
Maggie, I'd like to be 40 again too. Okay.
Wishful thinking?
Okay. So anyway, yeah, what they want. And we're talking about structurally structural deficits that they're really not going to be able to do anything unless they go into the third rail of
Right, Social
entitlements.
Secure bet you
All
entitlements
right.
and defense are the
r-
big line items. The rest
right.
of this is low hanging fruit.
And just like in Fed policy, even fiscal policy takes time.
Mm,
There's a time lag before it takes effect on the economy. And we still have supply problems with bonds, and we don't have a lot of buyers. And the dollar has turned, which isn't going to help. That's something else. In fact, my two forecasts when I was here on January 6th was a dollar top and by GDX, by the miners.
mhm.
And the miners was a huge trade. You're talking about 35% or so in 5 months, and the dollar hasn't been as dramatic, but I still think, and I was well tested on this when we had um, the tariff threats. Okay, that's when the market came in sharply lower. Well, the dollar gapped higher on that day, and I actually took a stab at it that day with stops above the prior high. So this is a weekly, but let's look at this. Okay, so this was a high. So I was here. Um, Here's the 6th of January, and I said there could be one more high towards 109, and the euro could go to 102, which is what it did. Took it out by a little bit, and we had this run. And the dollar had its initial break from the highs. I didn't expect this over the weekend, but I'll tell you what, I told everyone not to hold positions into that weekend.
Mhm. Why did
Okay,
you what made you think that?
because there was going to be an announcement on tariffs.
Mhm.
Okay, so no one knew what effect it was going to have. You knew it was going to be bigger than a Fed meeting or an NFP. And I'd rather not guess how the market's going to react. I'd rather react to it. If I'd come in short the dollar with the dollar in my face Monday morning, I probably would have been more about managing the risk of this trade than being able to be aggressive and say, okay, if the dollar's good, blow me out over new highs. Okay. And it, of course, then the news of Mexico came in and the dollar sold off. And this dollar, if we take out 107s, headed for 104 and a half. And I still have the same forecast that we'll see it under par this summer. But now I'm not wrong over this high. I could be wrong over this high. And if we take out 107, I'll move my stops down to 108 and a half.
Mm.
So the dollar, this is embryonic. So this is just starting. I think there's plenty left in it. And you would think it would be supportive. Well, you would think that with higher yields, the dollar would explode.
That's exactly what I was just about to
Okay.
ask you, Dale.
All right. Well, look at today. You had
Mhm.
bonds down sharply, and you had the euro breaking a trend. The euro was higher on the day. The dollar did not sell off on yields going up today. It actually went up. Euro was up
What is
26.
that telling you?
That there's a flight beginning out of the dollar because and the S&Ps haven't made new highs for a while. But while that's been going on, Maggie, you've had the DAX, which is a developed market, making new high after new high. Let me just find it. You had China exploding, and this is also part of the currency play.
So it's
That
moving out of US assets.
that's right. I'm still looking for a correction
Hmm.
in the U.S., and I think it will also take down everything. But the next wave after this correction in the S&Ps, and we could go to that next, um, I think could take the S&P to 7,000. But look at this performance compared to what the S&Ps have been doing. They haven't gone anywhere in
Mm.
2 months. It's just a big range. All the bulls are saying they're still saying melt up, melt up, melt up. Well, they should have been talking about the DAX. The DAX is melting up. The S&Ps aren't melting up. So you're already seeing that money flows, you know, plus into things like gold. So you're already seeing the money flows. I just showed you some bullish charts. What's so bullish about this? Since the December raid that we had, we've been in a range. And here's the debate. The debate is this just consolidation like it's always been before there's another wave to the upside? Could be. I'm wrong over 6110. That's not that far away. We start closing over this line, I'm out. But your sign for it being bad would be, first of all, for it to take out today's low. And then you have a couple lows at 5920. This was the tariff. This was DeepSeek. Okay. This was a sell off because of the NVIDIA trade. So, first of all, if we take out 5920, that's going to measure down to about 5720. And if I was long the market, and even if I was a CFP, if the S&Ps, now let's go to a daily, take out 5700, look at this, how important 5700 is if we get down there. If we break out over 6100, it doesn't matter. But look at the confluence
Mm.
at 5700. Just follow this black horizontal line back
Mhm.
to where we held it here. We held it here. It was a prior high. The 200-day moving average is coming in at that level. And that's a line in the sand for it just being a generic correction to turning into maybe something like 15% or more at 5,700. And
Wow, so yeah, so
yeah,
you sound like you're pretty bearish and pretty concerned.
yeah, but I could tomorrow if we're at 6110, I'm out. But I've been doing it with, let's talk about a movie. Did you ever see the movie The Magnificent Seven? Did you?
If it's the one we've been just watching in the markets, but if it's a Hollywood one,
No,
no.
well, I mean, it's a Hollywood movie, Yul Brynner, and they were gunslingers,
I had a
and they
feeling it was a Western.
all right, and they were trying to save a town, and there were 7 of them, just like the Mag 7, and
Is that where
3
they
of
got the
them.
name from? Did they steal the name from the movie? Was that inspired
No,
by the movie?
I don't think so. It's because the first letters of the stocks. But 3 survived out of the 7. So let's look at the Mag 7. Amazon's breaking. Apple was the first one they took out to shoot. It could rally back to 250, but the top's in. Meta's one of the only ones. There's one of the Mag 7. Here's Google. They broke that last week. Okay. So there's 3. Here's Netflix. It's still okay. Come on, Netflix.
So Meta and Netflix
And
are
Microsoft has been annihilated, and NVIDIA uh, has really taken some hits. So I'm having some trouble sharing.
that's
But
okay.
I have to tell you the story of NVIDIA. Remember when they came out and they were talking about Stargate?
Mhm.
Remember that? They
Mm.
get, I think it was Ellison and Altman and another guy, and I see them in the Oval Office, and they're talking about Stargate, and I'm thinking to myself, God, wasn't that a TV show, Stargate, or wasn't that Bill Murray singing? Oh no, that was Star Wars on Saturday night, singing Star Wars. Anyway, they went into the chips big, so I said, "I have to fade this Stargate
It's like, yeah,
thing."
being on the cover of Sports Illustrated, right, or
But, I
something.
mean, it you know, isn't that a little bit too much right now, where now we're gonna have a Stargate where we could travel in time? Anyway, people were so hyped up. I bought puts in NVIDIA, and this rarely happens, and then the news hit about DeepSeek. Is that the Chinese
Mm,
AI? And in 2 days, the puts I bought were 5 baggers. Okay, that's lucky. Okay,
wow.
it wasn't lucky that I faded that news, and I knew where I was wrong. I was going to get out of her new highs. Always have to answer that question. But now I covered down here on the crash, and now I'm laying out Nvidia puts again, thinking that this is just a retracement of this break. And if we start taking out 116 again, I can make a case for $70 Nvidia, and
$70?
$70
That
to
is gonna be a
breaking
lot
down
of
on the
pain. This is a stock that is widely held in
yeah,
people's
yeah.
portfolios.
I think it's going to be the reason behind it. They have earnings next week. I could be all wet, and we could be at 153. But I'm just being a technician, and you talk about how hard it is to trade because of all the news flow
Mm.
and the uncertainty. That makes your charts even more important. Wear earplugs and trade your levels, and get off of Truth Social and all your news flows and trade price. Okay, people who buy headlines today sell newspapers tomorrow. So these were Stargate headline buyers, right? And then these were panicked uh, deep six or whatever it is, they puked down here reacting to the news when
Yeah.
they could have been counterintuitive in both instances.
Yeah. Well, this is what makes this environment hard also, that people are trading their narrative or
Their
their
emotions.
politics or the headlines, or there's so many other factors that, it's easy to get caught up in.
Hmm.
I wanna get to a couple questions in the chat. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. Um, MK said, "Dale, last time." Oh, he's just making a s or she's just making a statement. "Your target for TLT was 74, now 72. I think I'll start buying at 73."
Oh well, I mean those are just within a range. Um, I know it's a new low, and I have that third drive line that at times can be a nice little magnet, and I'm guesstimating because you don't know when it's going to get there, and as the line descends, the price objective will change too. But yeah, if they're down there, I'd buy them too. I will buy them, probably with calls, but
Well, this
um,
is always the thing, right? This is
yeah,
this is what makes you different because you're always, making sure that you have an exit strategy if it starts to
yeah,
move again.
yeah.
Ian's saying, "Does Dale have any views on Robinhood?"
I could look at it, but not offhand. I know it's been one of the leaders. I will say this that the financials have really been kind of a haven over the last 6 months,
Hmm.
and Bank of America holds probably the biggest portfolio of long duration. So this decline in the bond market is going to help them as far as a big money center bank. And
Mm.
the KRE also looks negative. I could show Bank of America's my favorite bank short here, and I'll show you the divergences that we're getting. My screen works. Okay, so if the leadership is starting to weaken, right? Look, new highs. All right, so it's been stronger. XLF has been stronger. Maybe there's one more push for a three, but look at how we're diverging in the financials, and these have been the strength. And then here's KRE. If you want to talk about KRE, I know we had that, you know, you know 2-day banking crisis with Silicon Bank,
Mhm.
but when you think about it, on a monthly basis, that's probably what I was looking at. It really isn't that much. Oh, yeah, it was a good recovery, but it's looking heavy to me now, and the banks are diverging. But sell the weakness, and I'd sell Rips and Apple. Um, I'd sell the Mag 7. I think that what led the market up will also lead the correction.
What about gold? Because you talked
Okay,
about the miners before, and I think
okay,
I wanna make sure we get that in there, but I'm interested in what you think
okay.
about gold as well, since that's been hitting
Okay,
record
I think
highs.
it's a tough trade to get long here and a dangerous trade to get short. So,
For gold or the miners?
for gold. For
For
the
gold.
miners, I was just gonna go to the miners and just show you guys
While you
something.
pull that up, if you all haven't had a chance to catch up with the conversation I had with Noelle, uh, you should check it out. It's the write-ups on Substack and links to both, the interview and also her excellent Substack. She talked a lot about gold, comparing it to Bitcoin, the sort of pros and cons of each, and made some really interesting comments about what the insurance companies in China might be up to when it comes to gold. Really, really interesting stuff. So check it
Okay.
out. My Substack address is in the description.
So we didn't make a new high in GDX, like gold blew out its new high by a ton, but this little red dot was the day I was here. It said buy GDX. And it really performed even more than I thought. I thought we might even get a third drive, so I was long the miners, but not heavy. When I hit things on the button, I don't have a lot of size on.
Mm.
Size happens when it takes time for a position to develop. I don't just go all in big on my first entry. Anyway, this was huge. I'd be taking profits here, at least on partial, maybe a third. That's, from 33 to 43 is 35, 40% in 5 weeks. So book it. Maybe we pull back to 37. And you asked about gold, and I don't know, are we going to 3,200? Wherever we're going, silver has been lagging, but this was a big event in the metals to me this week. And it was the topping of the gold silver ratio right here at 92. And that's where if for 1 ounce of gold, you get 90 ounces of silver, 92. And just last summer, it was 72. So that's a big difference if you only get 72 coins. And I'm actually looking for 50 long term. So the way I would play it, since I think there is a chance of metals coming off, especially after the short squeeze is over in gold. They've sure moved a lot, tons of gold to the COMEX, and this is not a bet on direction, it's a bet on the leadership. So it was pretty good on the upside saying when this is going up, it's saying your preferred long is gold. And when it's going down, it's saying your preferred long is silver.
Mm.
I think that we could, I remember reverting to a mean in my career. I remember this thing trading at 40. So there's a long way down it could go. And you can trade it as a CFD. But, even with your physical, this might be the time to do a little switching and, take some gold coins and convert it to silver.
So
Be
Dale, I wanna 2 things I wanna run through, and if you have any questions, go
Okay,
ahead and put them in the chat. We'll see if we can get as many as we can. I have to ask you about oil, given,
okay.
some of the headlines coming out today. Again, tweets, we don't know what to make of it, but Trump saying he's on the phone with Putin. We know there's a desire to resolve the situation in Ukraine. Um, how are you thinking about oil? Are you
I've been
watching
waiting
crude?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this line to get hit for a year. Okay, so that comes in around 62. It's kind of like the line I have drawn in TLT. And I'm going to be buying crude down here. That's still $9 away. I don't know how fast it's going to happen, but I'm looking for crude to come down here. And I'm a buyer because it's my opinion that Netanyahu's visit to the White House, besides talking about Gaza, was drawing up battle plans for Iran. Because the president came out and said they could have anything but a nuke. Netanyahu's lifelong mission has been to prevent Iran from having a nuke. They may even have one. Um, Trump believes that they attempted to assassinate him. I don't think he's the type of personality to just forgive and forget. In fact, the Gulf War II, when we went into Iraq, one of the reasons was that Saddam had threatened President Bush's father. So I do think that there's going to be some military action in the Middle East this spring, and I'll take a shot at crude down here. But
Wow, that's so
longer term, I think it's a bear market still.
yeah, longer term. It's
But we
it's
could go from 62 to 100 in a short period of time.
That's the thing with commodities, isn't it?
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
you bring up a really interesting point though, because as you're listening to people talk about different scenarios, there seems to be a lot of optimism that there will be these grand deals everywhere. Like that there will be
mhm,
a
yeah,
settlement to the situation in Ukraine,
yeah,
some kind of deal with the Saudis,
yeah.
they want it's the 333, right? That all of these things will fall into
Egypt and
place.
Jordan's going to accept
Yeah,
Palestinians
it's
to
it's
be
but
moved
it's a
from their
lot of
lands.
these are
Yeah,
very, very difficult things, and there just
yeah.
seems to be a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah,
That's
River
called
Bridge, that
euphoria.
yeah, drill, baby, drill. And there's, like, inherent risk in all of them, and in all the conversations about oil, no one's brought up Iran, which is, to me, just recently. I'm not saying no one's talking about it, but it's so interesting because the sheer amount of news coming out, it's very easy to forget about sort of the risks. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's such an interesting and I think really important, point to bring up.
Well,
Um,
Israel believes they've defanged them with what happened with Hezbollah and Hamas, and they want to go for the head of the snake. And Trump doesn't like people that insult him, let alone are threatening his life.
yeah,
So that's my bet for this spring. If crude's down at 62, um, I'm going to use a combination of technicals and geos for a shot at, kind of and it could turn out to be even worse than I think if military action does happen, to where, I've heard people paint scenarios of 150, 200 if that happened. So,
which it would be an
yeah,
enormous shock coming at a time when there are a lot of
yeah.
other things in the work that like, as you
yeah,
mentioned before, that could potentially slow demand. When you and I'm very happy that you just gave a time frame on that. I hope everyone caught it too, because Dale's talking about being long term a bear, but short term seeing the
yeah,
possibility that there is, an event
yeah.
that causes a spike. So I think that's very important
But
to.
first, wait for the despair from all the bulls that think that they have a crude bottom and their stops get taken out under 65 or so,
Mm.
and there's some spillover, and buy their sell stops.
What is your time frame in terms of that correction that you're worried about for stocks? And again, super
Uh,
interesting point that the dollar's lower because we see capital moving out
yeah,
of US assets. That's been a very important
yeah.
support, so it's very interesting. What is your time frame on that, Dale?
I was thinking that we should start heading down pretty soon, or or I'm going to be wrong, and I think we could have a sell off into the spring,
Mm.
into tax day,
Yeah, this is
mid-April.
again, it's an interesting scenario because this is a president who actually went down to the stock exchange, which traditionally they don't do because they don't want that looped on the nightly news in the case of a correction. So, but we don't know whether it's the same around a first time he does not like
Yeah,
stock market go down. We don't know if it's different this time given
maybe he
the.
doesn't care, and right now, and he has kind of prepped the ground. He did come out and say, not during the campaign, but after the election, that Americans will feel some pain from the tariffs.
Yeah,
Right? He said that. So maybe he's laying the groundwork. Strategically, you want to get all the junk out of the way early, even though he's not going to can't run for reelection
right.
if there's an election.
Yes,
And
yes,
but get the get all the stuff, the bad news out of the way early in the term, so you're coming back strong.
right. And you're coming off of, a
Yeah,
former administration, so you have someone to blame.
yeah,
If it's or, you've got that cover anyway.
yeah.
What's your favorite as we wrap up here? So you're bearish on a lot of this stuff. You're looking at these levels which look vulnerable to you. What's your favorite trade right now? Or what do you feel the
Short
most conviction about?
short Nvidia. And a correction in the market, especially if I get a signal in S&Ps under 59.20.
Is
Okay,
it the
I'm
S&P
already
we should
positioned.
watch? Because you sort of see the action today and you hear about a sell-off with a hot CPI, and then you see that NASDAQ come back
Yeah,
and settle flat, and I think some people are gonna look at that and say, "Oh,
yeah,
they're buyers."
yeah. They're buying every dip, and the dips are shallower. But I'm saying this is an important level. We could have a breakout tomorrow too. But even if we have a breakout in the S&Ps, there are certain stocks that even a melt up, you want to use that strength to sell them. And I was trying to show you Microsoft earlier. Microsoft's not going to make a new high. It hasn't made a new high since July of 24. That's not going to make a new high. Apple's not going to make a new high. I really doubt it. So there are some things that you can use strength, like I need the market to go higher maybe to get shorts off in Apple there. So and maybe they're going to rotate out of banks, but banks look heavy, and to me, they were acting great until this a day or so before the bond breakdown. So uh, I think if I'm right about bonds, I don't know what's going to thrive in that environment at a 72 bond. I really don't. I think it'll even take gold down for a while.
But
So
longer term, you think again that's a shorter term move into sort of March or spring, and then after that you're gonna reevaluate.
yeah, well, I'm not as good of predicting predicting the time. I mean, maybe it's going to take some time for bonds to get that low. Maybe it's going to take till the summer or until Doge starts working. But I'm looking for a growth scare in the spring, and by then you would think that if the bonds are being sold off, that there might be that might be the time to step in. But be patient and let it play out. And you don't have to be a hero and try and be the first one to buy the bottom. Wait for a signal like a reversal day before you buy it.
Dale, as always, fantastic advice and a lot for us to keep on our dashboards. Appreciate you always being so specific with the levels and the time frames. Big things
Thank you.
happening.
Yeah,
You
there
were
are
right
big
about
things.
that you got that call right. And that's what
Yeah.
he said to put on the subject of the email he sent me, big things happening. All right, we gotta talk. You'll email me again if you see big things happening, and we'll
Thank,
get back on.
thanks for having me, Maggie.
Thanks so much. Thanks,
All right.
everybody. Great chat. Appreciate all the questions. We will see you again Friday. Julian Brigden's gonna roll up and join me, which is always gonna be fun. We'll see if he brings a cocktail. In the meantime, everybody, take care and good luck out there.
Good luck.